Hey, yo, we back. Listen, I was today years old when I learned something about basketball, and I just learned it yesterday. Matter of fact, it just hit me. I was watching some of the March Madness. I was watching some of the conference championships yesterday. Today is Sunday. I'll probably be releasing this Tuesday, so just realize that today is Sunday, and later on today they will be having the NCAA March Madness basketball selection show. 64 teams, all vying for the crown to be the number one in the nation, and it's a big thing. It's a big thing if you're into sports. It's a big thing if you're into basketball. But I learned today, actually I learned yesterday, that basketball was made to evangelize the gospel. Now, you know, here at Word and Way, the one thing we're really big about is evangelism. We're all about Jesus. We're all about that gospel message. And on top of that, y'all know I like some sports. I like all types of sports. Sports actually makes its way in a lot of times in a lot of these videos. One of my most popular videos has to do with the head coach of South Carolina girls basketball team, Dawn Staley, and her profession of faith. You can see that right here if you want to check it out. But no matter what, I love when things I like intersect with each other. For instance, when I found out that they were going to put out a play that was a hip hop version of the historical evidence of who Alexander Hamilton was, I was like, that's like 5 things that I love: musicals, plays, Alexander Hamilton, U.S. history, and hip hop. Like, count me in. So whenever certain things intersect like that, I just love covering them. And like I said, yesterday I learned that basketball was partly made to evangelize the gospel. And I came across an article, and I want to lay it out. And just so we can kick off this March Madness season right, let's just talk about the history of basketball and why it was made, and ultimately how Jesus was part of the equation of the creation of one of the most popular sports all around the world, and that is basketball. Y'all here with me? Y'all gonna rock with me? Let me go ahead and break it down today on Way and Word. Let's go. So listen, I love basketball. Big basketball fan. I'm becoming a bigger soccer fan because of my sons. But no matter what, the NFL, it has my heart more than anything else. I'm a huge Las Vegas Raider fan, so I cry a lot. But as far as the NBA, I love some San Antonio Spurs. And I do have another college team that I'm really in love with, but neither here nor there. We are in March Madness, and yesterday I was blessed with some information from a fellow that I duly care about and that I listen to and that I glean from, and he let me know, hey, basketball was created to evangelize the gospel? I said, really? Do tell. He sent me a link. I said, you know what? I got to share it with my Way and Word family. We got to talk about it. So let's go to the article here, and the article is from I can't even say that name. I'm bad with names. Alatihia? I don't know. But it talks about this inspiring story. And the headline here is how a Christian invented basketball and made it into an evangelization tool. I always talk about how there is ways to evangelize, but this one right here was one of the ones I did not know. And now that basketball is such a big part of our life, did we know they had Christian roots? So let's check this out. Let's check out this article here. It says, thanks to James Naismith, many young people were brought to Christ through the game of basketball. So here's how the article starts. Faced with a group of restless young men snowed in at an International Young Men's Christian Association, a YMCA, In Springfield, Massachusetts, physical education instructor James Naismith, who is the author or the originator of basketball, had to think of a new game to distract them from the cabin fever they were feeling. So not only was basketball created to be an evangelism tool, and we'll get there, it was created out of boredom. It's like, I know we're trapped inside. I know we're used to doing things outside, but we can't do that because we're in Massachusetts and we're snowed in. Let me create a sport that can take place indoors, so then it wouldn't even have any kind of problem with the weather aspect. And here we go with basketball. So with some added encouragement from his director, Naismith tested his ideas out for 2 weeks, but nothing was working. Then on December 21st, 1891, Naismith had a breakthrough. Something had to be done. One day I had an idea, Naismith explained to a New York radio station. And he said this. He said, I called the boys to the gym and divided them into 2 teams of 9 and gave them an old soccer ball. I showed them 2 peach baskets I had nailed to each end of the gym. That remind me of like when we used to play out in the open, play out, behind the apartment buildings and the houses. We used to always set up a milk crate on a telephone pole. And I'm not sure if we even measured how high it was, but that became our basketball rim many, many days back in my neighborhood. So here he has a peach basket that he nailed to each end of the gym. Okay. I don't know. I wonder if he nailed them to like the wall. And I told them the idea was to throw the ball into each other's peach basket. That sounds about like the premise for basketball, right? I wonder if like they had the whole bouncing aspect yet, because this was an old soccer ball, and soccer balls just don't bounce like that. I figure they were probably running back and forth, throwing the ball. He said, I told him the idea was to throw the ball in each other's peach basket. Okay, the game was called basketball. That makes sense. They're peach baskets and you throwing a ball into I get it. There we go. And the boys couldn't get enough of it. They kept asking Naismith to let them play, but the lack of any rules, brawls would break out on the floor. So he had to put together some rules. It says here that Naismith made 13 original rules for basketball, and he wrote an article that was distributed to all YMCAs across the country. The game spread like wildfire, and by 1998, Naismith was hired as the first men's basketball coach of the University of Kansas. Is Kansas good this year? I feel like I haven't really heard any kind of Kansas buzz this year. Well, how's Bill Self doing? I'm not sure. Hey, anybody who knows anything about the Kansas, please leave a comment. Is Kansas good this year? I don't know. Like, I was just watching Michigan versus Wisconsin. I didn't see the Big 12. Are they in the Big 12? I don't know. Anyway, ever since the game of basketball has been a staple of American culture and has increased in popularity every year, especially at the collegiate level. For example, in 2015, because this article was written in 2016, March Madness had 80 million people worldwide. So I'm pretty sure we're about to have more than that even this year. So here it is. What's interesting is that Naismith, while he created the game to entertain restless boys during the cold months of winter, he invented basketball to win men for the master through the gym. Listen to that. He invented basketball to win men to the master. Who's the master? The master is Jesus Christ. So he utilized this game. He utilized the gym to win men to Jesus. And it says, this was in keeping with his general mission in life, one that he developed as he studied for a master's degree at Montreal's Presbyterian Theological College. So it sounds like James Naismith might have a master's of divinity or something like that. So he created this whole scenario to also win men over to Christ. Let's keep reading. Naismith was convinced that he could better exemplify the Christian life through sports than in the pulpit, and sought to develop the whole person, mind, body, and spirit in the gym. That's interesting. He felt like he could develop men better through sports, in their religious fervor, in their Christianity, than actually in the pulpit. And not saying that preachers in the pulpit don't do it. He's saying that from his purview, from his perspective, and for where he was put in the world, that he can utilize this gym, he can utilize his sports to bring men closer to God. And I totally understand that. I've already told y'all the reason why I'm even on YouTube is because I feel like I am perfectly positioned to give the gospel of Jesus Christ to people via the World Wide Web, via this platform. And that while there's other people who are perfectly positioned in pulpits to do it, I think that I have the wherewithal to be perfectly positioned here in front of you all to tell you all about Jesus Christ from your phone, your tablet, or any other streaming device. You heard me. And if you've made it this far and you have tapped into this community, the Way in Word community, yeah, and you trying to see how you can get more and more locked in, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell as well. You'll be notified every time I drop a video, and you won't be disappointed. Look, we're talking about faith in basketball right now, God and goals. You know what I mean? So with that, he says, as a result, he held basketball players to a high standard and wanted them to be virtuous. Naismith's director, Luther Gulick, explained the Christian values that surrounded basketball in an article in 1897 where he wrote, "The game must be kept clean." We know that's not the truth anymore. It's not clean. I don't know. I mean, you know. It is a perfect outrage for an institution that stands for Christian work in a community to tolerate not merely ungentlemanly treatment of guests, but slugging and that which violates the elementary principles of morals. Excuse for the rest of the year, any player would not. Excuse for the rest of the year, any player who is not clean. Okay, excused for the rest of the year, any player who is not clean in his play. I mean, so anybody who was in the mouse of the palace would have been totally dismantled if it had anything to do with what this man was talking about. But I digress. Michael Zogry, associate professor in the Department of Religious Studies at the University of Kansas, further explained Naismith's approach to sports and faith in an interview last year. He says this: his approach was to put Christianity out there in front of people and try to influence them through positive character development. But he reserved his formal preaching for when he was a guest minister at areas of churches. So in developing a moral fabric amongst the players who played the basketball game, then he would use that as a firm foundation and deliver the gospel, which he would probably do a lot at the area churches. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of these guys who played at the YMCA, he would actually push them to come to church, and they would hear the word of God and things like that. I mean, it's kind of a pipeline. He was kind of using it as a cultural zeitgeist, as a cultural point to move them further to the cross. And it says here, basketball for Naismith was not simply a game, but it was an evangelization tool. In fact, during this time period, the YMCAs had integrated the game into their mission trips. Wow. They integrated basketball into the mission trips. And it is recorded that many young people were brought to Christ through these missionaries and the game of basketball. Could y'all imagine that basketball was utilized to evangelize people for the cause of Christ? So this is how basketball was brought to China. Wow, it was brought. So, I mean, okay, so real quick, China is one of the biggest consumers of basketball worldwide. I mean, China's a big one. So the fact that China loves basketball so much, the reason why is because missionaries went to China and introduced them to the sport. And it has since become one of the country's most popular sports, like I just said. In the end, Naismith firmly believed in the connection of sports and faith and wrote, "Whenever I witness games in a church league, I feel my vision." And he wrote, "Whenever I witness games in a church league, I feel that my vision, almost half a century ago, of the time when the Christian people would recognize the true value of athletics has become reality." Hey, I'm going to tell y'all what, when I was younger, I was part of like a church basketball league. You know, we had my church, we had our own basketball team. We would face other churches, and there was some churches. What's crazy was, this is crazy. There was some churches who were known for their dirty play. Like, that's kind of crazy, right? Like, there's churches known for their dirty play. Every time we had to face, oh man, we got to face that team again. Like, they're about to do all types of stuff. And I mean, back then, I mean, I wasn't the best basketball player by any means, but I love some church leagues. Some church leagues with some fun times, for real, especially like the inter-church leagues. Because now they have like, a church will have like 8 teams, and then like those teams will play each other, and they're all under the same church. But I used to like when one church had their own team and they would play against another church. And guess where we would play at? We would play at the YMCA. And it was always a good time. I love those days. Wow. All right, I think that's the end of that article. You know, I just wanted to come on real quick. This wasn't going to be long. I was today years old when I learned that basketball was an evangelism tool. And that shows me that anything can evangelize to the gospel. Anything can be utilized to bring the gospel. Like, I indulge in a lot of things that were probably secular in nature at one point, but have been utilized to bring the gospel. One thing, and I've said this before, I love Christian hip hop, and I love that real Christian hip hop that will talk about Jesus out front, won't shade it. You know, my favorite artist is KB, and the reason why he's my favorite is because, one, he's fire. He got fire beats, fire rhymes, and on top of that, he be giving the gospel all the time. And I like that. So utilization of rap, utilization of any kind of medium like movies or TV shows, utilization of comic books, cartoons, utilization of anything, utilization of YouTube, anything can be utilized. We have tools here. And so James Naismith has reminded me that there are tools all around us that we can use to tell somebody else about Jesus. But no matter what, I love you all. Check out this video right here. Listen, that Target ban and what's been going on with Jamal Bryant as he continues to call it a fast and whatever else, it's been causing a lot of hubbub. I got a video on it. You want to check it out, I'll be right here. With all that said, I love you all. Weigh in word out. I mean, basketball and Jesus, God and goals. I wish I had better lyrics than that. That's all I got. Sorry. Love you all. Out.